Over the past 25 years, I have spoken to people from all walks of life. CEOs, junior accountants, entrepreneurs, and everybody in between. I've met people at the peak of their career and people struggling to find their way. And through my own ups and downs, I've paid close attention to what really defines success. I myself have been passed up for promotion. I've been laid off. I've felt stuck. And every time I've had to rebuild, refocus, and figure out what success actually means to me. And here's the thing. What I was chasing wasn't always what I thought it was. It was never about status or climbing some imaginary corporate ladder. It was about one thing: freedom. So I want to share some of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years. If you're just navigating your career right now, whether you're just starting out or you're deep in your journey, hopefully these insights will make your path just a little bit smoother. First, your career is going to have highs and lows. Just learn to accept it. You see, nobody has a career that's a straight line to success. There are going to be peaks and valleys, wins and losses. Some years you're going to feel unstoppable, and in other years, you're going to wonder if you made the right choices. But here's the thing. Success isn't about avoiding failures. It's learning from them and knowing how to navigate it. When times are good, learn to soak it in. Appreciate those moments of ease. But when things go south, and they will at some point, don't let it break you. Remind yourself, this is just a season. And while it may feel rocky right now, it's not the end of my story. Next, there's always going to be somebody that dislikes you. So stop trying to please everyone. And this is a lesson that I still struggle with to this day. You see, no matter how much you try, you will never be universally liked. There will always be someone, whether it's a boss, a coworker, a so-called friend, even a stranger online, or somebody who watches my videos, who just won't like you, no matter what you do. And most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. I've learned that people project their own insecurities onto others. And if you're working hard, you're growing, or trying to do something new, it threatens people who are too afraid to do the same. And their defense mechanism? Criticism. Stop seeking approval from everyone. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's impossible. The only approval you need is your own. Next, complaining will hold you back. Work can be frustrating. Careers can be frustrating. Job search can be frustrating. And bad bosses exist. Corporate politics are real. But sitting around complaining about your job won't change anything. It just keeps you stuck. Think about the most successful people you know. Are they the ones who whine about how unfair things are? No. They're the ones who take ownership of their situation. They find ways to improve things, or they move on. They don't waste their energy playing the victim. So every time you catch yourself complaining, ask, what actions can I take instead? Because action is what actually moves you forward. Next thing that I've realized is that quitting is easier than pushing through. So choose wisely. And yeah, sometimes leaving a job is the best move. A toxic work environment, a dead-end position, or a company that doesn't align with your values, those are all very valid reasons to walk away. But sometimes quitting is just the easy way out. The truth is, work will always have its challenges. And if your default reaction to stress is to just simply leave and tender your resignation, employers will inevitably notice. They will start to see you as somebody who avoids problems rather than solves them. And trust me, they do take note of it in interviews. The key is to ask yourself, am I leaving because this job is truly wrong for me? Or am I leaving because it's hard or uncomfortable? There is a difference. And knowing the difference will shape your entire career. And if you're always quitting jobs, that means you're constantly in job search mode. And it's really difficult to gain any career momentum when you're always hitting the reset button. Not to mention, you are required to apply for lots and lots of positions. And in today's job market, it's particularly difficult because you're sending out application after application. The problem is when you send out all these applications, you are sharing a lot of personal data with both the employer, but inadvertently to data brokers, because oftentimes the data that they use to conduct these background checks and process your payroll is inadvertently shared with data brokers. And trying to figure out where your information is showing up on public directories can be very difficult. Not to mention having to manually find where they are and then opt out of them. And that's where today's sponsor comes in, Delete Me. Delete Me offers an innovative solution that constantly monitors for instances where your personal information is showing up on online directories, especially without your knowledge. And they will take steps to automatically scrub that information for you. And it runs constantly behind the scenes, always looking for new instances where your information keeps popping up. It's a little bit like whack-a-mole. And getting started is really easy. You just have to fill out a questionnaire where you do have to provide some personal information so they know what to look for. Then they immediately get to work scouring the internet, looking for instances where your personal information is showing up. And again, they do the work for you. And every so often, you'll get emailed a detailed report letting them know what activities they're doing on your behalf. And if you'd like to sign up, Delete Me has been gracious enough to offer a 20% off discount if you use the code LAYOFF at checkout. I will leave a link in the comments below. The next thing that I've learned in my career, and really just being a human being on this planet, is that your thoughts shape your reality. Your mindset is everything. If you believe that you're not good enough, you're going to act like it, and that's what you're going to experience. If you believe that you're not talented enough or not worthy enough, that's what you're going to experience. And if you believe that you won't succeed, then you won't even try. The universe listens, and it reflects back what you put into it. And I know that there are some people out there who think this is a little hokey, but this is core level creation. We create what we think. And the sooner that you realize that, the sooner you can shape your reality in a much more active way. Listen, I've met people who are more than qualified for leadership positions or that senior tier job that feels like a stretch to them. But they held themselves back because they were convinced or they thought that they weren't ready. The problem is that they stay in these jobs for so long that the rest of their peer group ends up passing them by on the open market. Meanwhile, I've met people with half the experience who went for the role anyway and got it. And I'm sure you do too. Why is that? It's because they believed that they could. So stop waiting for permission and start believing in your potential. Your mindset, whether you believe me or not, will absolutely determine your reality and the world that you experience. Next, starting is hard, but sticking with it is harder. It's easy to say, I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to change careers, or something as simple as I'm going to learn a new skill. But how many people actually consistently follow through? Case in point, on January 1, gyms are full of people with New Year's resolutions to transform their fitness and their health. But by February 1, it's a ghost town. Without a doubt, starting is tough, but it's consistency that separates those who succeed from those who don't. And here's the deal. Most people do not fail because they're not talented enough. They fail because they lack discipline. If you can master consistency, even when that motivation fades, you're already ahead of 99% of people. Next, I've learned that while money is certainly important, money isn't everything. But what it creates is safety, and safety can be a trap. I have seen more people than I care to admit taking jobs just for the paycheck, just for that extra few $1,000s, just for that extra 50 cents more an hour, only to be burned out and then later regret it. Yet, staying in a comfortable job for too long can also be dangerous. When you're too comfortable, you stop growing. You don't take risks. You don't learn new skills. And before you know it, you're watching your peers surpass you. So there is an art to knowing how and when to move on, and it's a lesson best learned early. Growth does require some discomfort. And the next piece of advice I'm going to share is something that's been hitting me harder lately. But in a few generations, nobody is going to remember you. So make it count while you're here. The harsh truth is in 2 generations, people will start to forget what your voice sounds like. In 3 generations, people won't remember your name. And in 4 generations, you'll be completely forgotten. Let that sink in for a minute. And this realization can either depress you or it can liberate you. To me, it's actually freeing. It means I don't have to waste my life worrying about what others think. Instead, I focus on what actually matters, making an impact, taking care of my family, and leaving the world a little bit better than how I found it. In other words, I'm focused on my legacy rather than how big my bank account is. Work towards something that matters and not just a paycheck. Next, it's never too late to change. This is something that frustrates me to no end when I hear people making the excuse that they can't change careers. Because the deal is, most people will have at least 3 to 5 completely different careers in their lifetime. I have seen and I have helped coach people to make successful career shifts in their 60s. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s and you think you're too deep into your career path to change, you're not. If you're miserable, pivot. You have more time than you think you do. But at the same time, once you recognize that you're in a bad fit, start taking proactive steps and don't stay in that role or that career type for too long. Our runway shortens considerably the later we get in our career, and so you don't want to waste any time being miserable. Which leads us to my final piece of advice. You'll never feel ready, so do it anyway. Listen, imposter syndrome doesn't go away. I personally still experience it every time I sit in front of this camera. And even the most successful people feel it. The difference, they don't let it stop them. Most people in leadership positions, they're not smarter than you. They just went for it before they felt ready. If you're waiting for some magical moment when you feel qualified enough to take the next step, you're literally going to be waiting forever. So take the opportunity. Say yes. Figure it out as you go. Because that's what every other successful person is doing. Now, admittedly, I have learned through the school of hard knocks, and some of the lessons were not very easy, and some of them, admittedly, I still struggle with today. But it took me 25 years to garner this knowledge and this wisdom. But if even one of these insights helps you navigate your career more smoothly, then it was worth me sharing. Now, I want to hear from you. What are the biggest career lessons you've learned so far? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you're feeling directionless in your career and you think you need a little bit more help, that's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com, which is loaded with tips and tricks all from a recruiting and HR professional's perspective. I share my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses. The most important one is establishing career strategy from the beginning of your career all the way through retirement. And I created a course called the Ultimate Career Blueprint, which gives you all the tools necessary to navigate a career effectively, to get promoted, to find meaning in your career and actually achieve your lofty aspirations. And I also offer some limited private one-on-one coaching. You can reach me through my website for that as well. So if you like this content, hit the thumbs up, maybe hit that subscribe button, and share this video with somebody you think might gain some value from it. As always, I appreciate you watching. Again, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Delete Me, and we'll see you next time.